Comparison of decimal fractions. Let's compare the decimal fractions. First of all, just convert them into like fractions before comparing them. Before compare the whole number part and the decimal number part, firstly convert them into like fractions. Means you just add zeros in the numbers which are having less number of decimal places. And the numbers here are 0.5 and 0.08. This number is having 2 digits in the decimal part, means it has 2 decimal places and it has 1 decimal place. So this would be written as 0.50 and this number is now 0.08. And you know that 8 is less than 50. 8 is less than 50. 8 is smaller than 50, or you can say 50 is greater than 8. So it means 0.08 is less than 0.50, or you can say 0.50 is greater than 0.08. And now just write your answer by removing the 0 at the end, because you know that the original number was 0.5. So your answer would be 0.08 is less than 0.5, or you can write 0.5 is greater than 0.08. This is how you can compare the given decimal fractions. First, just convert them into like fractions and then compare them. Now, to put decimal fractions in order, whether you want to put the decimal fractions in ascending order or in descending order, firstly convert them into like fractions, then compare the number and arrange accordingly. Suppose the number given here are 3.9, 3.09, 3.91 and 3.019. You know that the maximum number of decimal places is 3. So all of these numbers should have 3 decimal places. We would put 10 at the end here because 2 places were already there. We would put again 10 here because 2 places were already there. And in this number there is only 1 decimal place. We would put 2 more zeros at the end to convert them into like fractions. Now you know that among all of these numbers, 3.019 is the smallest number. We are just arranging these numbers into ascending order, and while writing ascending order of the numbers, we just write the smallest number first, and the smallest number here is 3.019. The number that is bigger than this is 3.090. Then comes the number 3.900 and the biggest number here is 3.910. So this is how we have arranged the given numbers into ascending order. Now you can solve exercise 7.2. We would do the conversion of common fractions into a decimal fraction. How we can convert a common fraction into decimal fraction? Let's consider the number 7 upon 10. 7 upon 10. If the denominator contains 1 and zeros after them, then you would put a decimal after leaving the places as many zeros are there. Like here is only 1 0. You would put a decimal after leaving 1 0 from the rightmost side. It means it would be 0.0 and there is no whole number, so you would put 0 before it. It would be 0.7. Suppose the number is 35 upon 10. You would put a point over here because there is only 1 0 after 1. So you would leave only 1 place from the rightmost side and put the decimal before it. That would be 3.5. Similarly, if you are having 264 upon 10, you would put a decimal over here. Means you would leave only 1 place. That would be 26.4. Because we have to put decimal after leaving the digits. As many as digits we would leave, as many zeros are present in the denominator with 1. Suppose now we consider number 35 upon 100. This is common fraction. 35 upon 100. It means we have to leave 2 places before decimal from the right side. 35 upon 100. There are only 2 places, so we would put decimal over here. 5 and 3 would be left, decimal 35. This number is now 0.35. As there is no digit in the whole number part, so 0 would be put over here. Answer would be 0.35. If we consider the number 2709 upon 100, 2709. There are 4 digits in the numerator. We would leave 2 digits because there are 2 zeros in the denominator with 1. And after leaving 2 zeros from the right hand side, we would get the number 27.09. if there is single digit in numerator and you require to put decimal after leaving 2 digits, then you can add zeros to the number, because that would not change the value of the number if we write zeros in the starting of the number. If we are writing 7 and if we are writing 07 or 007, all of these numbers have the same value, because the 0 written in front of the number, in the beginning of the number, has no value. So it means we can write zeros in the left hand side of the given number if we require to place a decimal after 2 or 3 digits. Suppose the number is 7 upon 100. Now you know that there are 2 zeros in the denominator with the 1. So we have to leave 2 places from the right side, but we have only 1 digit. So just put a 0 before it so that you can get the 2 places. So it would be 0.07. 0.07, and after putting a decimal, you know that there is no digit left, so you can again put a 0 over here and answer would be 0.07. Now if there is 1000 in the denominator, suppose the number is 264 upon 1000. 264 upon 1000. So you would leave 3 digits from the right side, means 1, 2, 3. You would put a decimal over here. 0.264 would be its answer, and there is no more digit left in the left hand side. So 0 would be put over here. Its answer would be 0.264. Now if the number is 7 upon 1000, it means you have to leave 3 places before decimal, but there is only 1 place. So put 2 more zeros to make the 3 places. 700 point. This would be 0.007, because there were 3 zeros in the denominator. So we have left 3 places before decimal and no places more left on the left hand side. So 0 would be put over here. Answer would be 0.007. And in the number 35 upon 1000, you can see that there are only 2 places and we have to leave 3 places. So we would put 1 0 to make up the places, and the answer would be 0.035 or 0.035. Now let's do the next topic, that is conversion of decimal fraction into common fraction. Suppose the number is 3.8. 3.8 is to be converted into common fraction. 3.8. And you know that you can see over here the decimal part contains only 1 digit. It means it is at 10th place. It means it would be divided by 10. So just count the decimal places and write the number of zeros with 1 in the denominator. For example, we are given 0.36. The number without decimal would make the numerator, and along with the 1, number of zeros would make the denominator in this case, if we want to convert a decimal fraction into a common fraction. Now the number is 0.36. 0.36 means 36, and upon there would be 100, because there are 2 decimal places. So 100 would make 100. Its common fraction would be 36 upon 100. And if you are given the number 0.007, it means the number is 7, and that would make the numerator, and denominator would contain 1000 because there are 3 decimal places. So this number would be 7 upon 1000. Now solve exercise 7.3. Very simple and very short exercise is this. You can do it in your notebooks. We are moving towards next topic, that is addition or subtraction of decimal fractions. While doing addition or subtraction of decimal fractions, we would just arrange them in proper columns and do addition or subtraction as we do in the whole numbers. But there is one more thing which should be kept in mind always, that while writing the addends or minuend or subtrahend, just keep in mind that decimal should be just put below the decimal. Means every decimal should be in alignment. The place of decimal should not be shifted. And then you can just subtract or just add the given numbers as you do in the whole numbers. Decimal would be written in the answer at the same place as given in the numbers above that you are going to add or subtract. Like here in this example, you are asked to add the numbers 4.5, 0.75 and 1.675. Here you know that all of these 3 numbers are having different decimal places. So before adding or subtracting the numbers, we would convert all of these numbers into like decimal fractions by putting zeros at the end of the given numbers which are having less number of decimal places. So 4.5 would be written as 4.500 because maximum number of decimal places is 3. So it should also contain 3 decimal places. So this would be written as 4.500. And next number 0.75 would be written as 0.750, and this number would be written as it is 1.675. Now we will add these numbers and answer would be 6.925. This is how we can get the decimal at the same position by converting the given numbers into like fractions. Before adding or subtracting, just convert them into like fractions and then add them as the whole numbers, but decimal would be placed at the same place, means after leaving the same number of decimal places as in the given numbers. So answer would be 6.925 after addition. And next example says you have to subtract 65.408 from 75.02. Again, you can see that both of these numbers are unlike decimal fractions. Firstly, we would convert them into like decimal fractions, and those would become 75.020 because one decimal part was less in this number. So 1 0 would be put in this number. At the end, number would become 75.020. The number that is to be subtracted from here is 65.408. That would be written below this, and then we would subtract as we do the subtraction in whole numbers, and decimal would be put after leaving 3 digits from the rightmost side because in the numbers that were given there were maximum of 3 decimal places. So answer would also contain 3 decimal places. So point would be put, decimal would be put after leaving 3 places from the right hand side. Answer would be 9.612 here. Now solve exercise 7.4. We are moving towards next topic, multiplication of a decimal fraction by 10, 100, 1000. Suppose the number is given here 1.012. We are asked to multiply it with 10, then 100, then 1000. Whenever you are asked to multiply a number, decimal fraction, with 10, shift decimal with 1 digit on the right hand side. You have to move the point 1 place to the right hand side. So its answer would be 10.12. Decimal has been shifted from this place to next place because we are given number 10 which is to be multiplied with this number. It means we should shift the decimal with 1 place. So its answer would be 10 plus 10.12. Now we are asked to multiply 1.012 with 100. Now in this case we would move the point by two places. That means here it would be 101.2. Now in next case it is asked that you have to multiply 1.012 with 1000, means you are given 3 zeros with 1. So you would move the decimal 3 places to the right hand side. So after moving 3 places in this number 1.012, you are asked to move 3 places on the right hand side. So decimal would be here. There is no digit after decimal. It means decimal has no value then its answer would be 1012. If we multiply it with 1000, decimal would be shifted at the end. It means there is no digit after decimal. There is no decimal place. So this number would be without decimal, can be written as this, or this can be written as 1012.0. So simply it can be written as 1012. So whenever you are asked to multiply a number which is decimal fraction with 10, then shift the decimal by 1 place on the right hand side. If you are asked to multiply a fraction with 100, shift the decimal to the right hand side by 2 places. And in case of multiplication with 1000, shift the decimal to the right hand side by 3 places. Sometimes the number of decimal places in the fraction is less than the number of zeros in the multiplier. Then we add zeros to the right hand side to make up. Suppose you are asked to multiply 1.2 with 1000. We are going to multiply 1.2 with 1000. Now it is clear that we have to shift the decimal by 3 places, but there is only 1 place. So to get more 2 places, put zeros at the end, because 1.2 can be written as 1.200. So put zeros at the end to get more places. That would be 1200. This is the answer. If you are asked to multiply 1.2 with 1000, it means you have to shift the decimal by 3 places, but there is only 1 place. So to make up those less number of places, add zeros in the number and your answer would be 1200 in this case. Now we come towards multiplication of a decimal fraction by a whole number. Here in the example, the numbers which are to be multiplied are 25.48 and 36. Means you have to multiply 25.48 by 36. 36 is a whole number and 25.48 is a decimal fraction. Firstly, we would multiply the two numbers as whole numbers. Then we would put the decimal in the answer in the product by leaving as many as places from the right hand side, as many as places are given in the decimal fraction. So firstly, we have multiplied 2548 considering the number 25.48 as a whole number, and we have multiplied it with 36 and its product has come over here 91,728. 91,728, and the number which was to be multiplied was, fractional number was 25.48, means it contained 2 decimal places. So you would put a decimal after leaving 2 places here, means its number would become, this number would be 917.28. This is how you can multiply a fraction number, means you multiply a decimal fraction with a whole number. Now we come towards the multiplication of a decimal fraction by decimal fraction. Again, you would multiply both of these numbers as whole numbers, and in the product, you would leave as many as places before the decimal on the right hand side, as many as is the sum of decimal places given in the both numbers. Suppose the numbers are 6.37 and 6.5. Firstly, we would multiply them as whole number. We would multiply 637 by 65. The product is 41,405. Now the point is, the question is, where should we put the decimal point? And the decimal point should be put after leaving 3 zeros from the right side, because this number contains 2 decimal places and the other number contains 1 decimal place. Just add the decimal places. 2 plus 1 makes 3. So you would leave 3 places to make the decimal number part of this product. So decimal would be placed over here. After leaving 3 places from the right side, this would become 41.405. This is the answer in case of multiplication of a decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Now example number 2, it says that you have to multiply 2.5 with 0.03 with 0.4. Firstly, you would just multiply these 3 numbers as we do multiplication of 3 numbers in whole numbers, and the product comes over here, that is 300. 300 is the product of 25, 3 and 4. Now the answer would contain decimal after leaving the places as many as places, that is the sum of all the decimal places of these numbers. And you know that sum of the decimal places over here is 1 plus 2 plus 1, 4. The decimal places should be 4 and here the digits are only 3. So put a 0 before it to make the 4 decimal places, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So answer would be 0.0300. And you know that if at the end of the decimal part there are zeros that have no values, this answer is correct. But you can write it as 0.03 because these zeros have no value at the end. So this can be written as 0.03 or simply 0.03. Both of these 3 answers are correct. Now solve exercise 7.5. We are moving towards next topic. Division of decimal fractions by 10, 100 and 1000. As in case of product, you have shifted the decimal to the right hand side with as many as zeros as were given in the product, like 10. If in case of 10, you shifted decimal to the right hand side by one place, and if you are asked to divide the given fractional number or divide the given number by 10, just shift the decimal on the left hand side by one place. If you are asked to divide the number by 100, shift the decimal on the left by two places, and in case of division by 1000, shift the decimal on the left hand side by three places. For example, the number given over here is 512.8 and it is to be divided by 10. 512.8 divided by 10. We are asked to, you can write it division, like you can write it as this, 512.8 divided by 10, or you can write it like in common fraction. Now you just shift the decimal to the left hand side by one place. Answer would be 51.28. In case of multiplication, we move the decimal on the right hand side. In case of division, we shift the decimal on the left hand side. And the places that we shift in the division, that depend on the number of zeros in the divisor. If the number of zeros is 1, means we are asked to divide the number by 10, we would shift the decimal on the left hand side by one place, as we done in this case. Now we divide the number 512.8 by 100. It means we would now shift the decimal on the left hand side by two places. So it would become 5.128. And in case of division by 1000, it would become 0.5128, because there was no decimal, there was no digit after decimal. So 0 has been put over here in the answer. Answer would be 0.5128, because in this case we have shifted the decimal on the left hand side by three places, because the division was with 1000. So answer is 0.5128. Now it is said that when the number of decimal places in the fraction is less than the number of zeros in the divisor, we would add zeros to the left hand side to make up. Suppose 13 is to be divided by 10. In this case, number of zeros is not less than the number of digits given in the question. So this can be written as 1.3. But here, if the case is 13 divided by 100, you have to leave again two places. There is no issue. 0.13, 0.13 or 0.13. Now, if you are asked to divide 13 by 1000, so you need three places, but here are two only places. So we would add 1 0 in the left hand side to make up the less number of places, 310, and no digit has been left. So 0 would be put over here in the answer. Answer would be 0.013. Suppose you are asked to divide 3 by 1000. So you would leave three places before placing decimal, and here is only one place. So we would place two more zeros on the left hand side. Answer would be 0.003, and it can be written as 0.003. So this is the answer, and this is how you can make up the less number of places. If you require more places, then add zeros on the left hand side to get the answer. Now you can solve example as we done in the previous question. We move toward division of a decimal fraction by a whole number. Now in example, it is given that you have to divide 125.086 by 26. Firstly, consider the number which is in decimal fraction as whole number in your mind and divide it by 26. So while dividing 26, we get that 26 fours are 104. It would be written as 4 in the quotient, and 104 would be written below 125. And after subtraction, we get 21 over here. Now we need to bring down 0. But you know that 0 is written after decimal. So we would put a decimal before further division. In the quotient, we would put a decimal because we are jumping just a decimal in the dividend. So now the number becomes 210. 26 8s are 208, and after subtraction we get 2. 8 would be brought down. Once you have put the decimal in the quotient, no need to put again decimals. You can take as many as digits that are given in the decimal part while division. So now this becomes 28, and 26 ones are 26. Again 2 would be left, and 6 would be brought down. Again, this would become the number 26. 26 ones are 26. And now the quotient is 4.811. This is how you can divide a decimal fraction by a whole number. Now let's divide decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Now we just know that if you are asked to divide a decimal fraction by a decimal fraction, firstly we would do one thing. We would just make the divisor as a whole number. If the divisor and dividend both are decimal parts, both are decimal fraction, firstly we would just convert the divisor into a whole number. How can we convert it into whole number? By multiplying it with 10, 100, 1000. How many zeros are required? That would be dependent on the decimal places in the divisor. Here you can see that the decimal places are 2. So you would multiply it with 100 to make it a whole number, because when this would be multiplied with 100, suppose 0.85 is multiplied by 100, it means decimal would be shifted to the right hand side by 2 places, and as the decimal reaches at the end, it means there is 0 after the decimal which has no value, so it would be converted into a whole number, 85. So the number of decimal places in the divisor would tell you the number which is to be multiplied by it to make it into a whole number, and then divide the number, that is fractional number, decimal fraction, as we divided in previous example, and get your answer. That would be your. But keep in mind that if you converted this number into a whole number by multiplying it with 100, same time you would multiply the other number, that is the dividend, with 100 before division. Before division, in case of decimal fraction with a decimal fraction, you need to do 2 steps. First step is to convert the divisor into a whole number, and the number that is to be required to convert the decimal number into a whole number, that number should be multiplied with the dividend also before division. And here you multiplied 0.85 with 100 to make it as 85. 0.85 converted into 85 after multiplying it with 100. So dividend means 25.925 would also be multiplied with 100 so that their values don't get altered. So after multiplication, this number would give us 2592.5, and now we would divide 2592.5 with 85, and after division you know that its quotient is 30.5. This is how you can solve the division of decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Again, I am telling you 2 more things that is to be kept in mind, that firstly convert the divisor into a whole number by multiplying it with 10, 100 or 1000, whatever is required, but at the same time before division multiply the dividend with the number that is required to convert the divisor into whole number. Then proceed the division, and in that case the answer would be your required answer of the particular division of decimal fraction by decimal fraction. Now we come towards division of a whole number by a decimal fraction. Now we are going to divide a whole number by a decimal fraction. Here again you would simply convert the decimal fraction, that is divisor, into a whole number first, and at the same time the number that is to be multiplied with divisor, that should be multiplied with the dividend also. And here you can see that the decimal places are 2. It means you would multiply it with 100 to convert it into a whole number. 1.25 multiplied by 100 gives us 125, and at the same time before division we would multiply the dividend with 100, and 210 multiply 100 gives us 21,000. Now we would divide 21,000 with 125, and the answer is 168. This is the quotient. So whenever you are asked to divide a whole number or a decimal fraction with a decimal fraction, just convert the decimal fraction, that is divisor, into a whole number, and then at the same time multiply the dividend with the same number that was required for the divisor, and then proceed further in case of division. This is how you can divide a whole number or a fractional number by a fractional number. Means this is how you can divide a whole number or a decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Now we come towards next topic, that is conversion of a common fraction into a decimal fraction or quotient as decimal fraction into the division of whole numbers. Example says convert as a decimal fraction or divide 7 by 8 finding quotient as decimal fraction. Means you are asked to convert a common fraction into a decimal fraction, or you are asked to divide a whole number by a whole number, but the quotient should be in the form of decimal fraction. Suppose you are asked to divide 7 by 8. 7 by 8, or you can write it 7 upon 8. It means 8 would be divisor, 7 would be dividend. 8 is divisor, 7 is dividend. You know that 7 is not divisible by 8. So you would put a 0 in the quotient, and now you can put a decimal over here and as many as zeros till you get the remainder as 0. So now divide, put a decimal over here because we are considering now 70, and 8 8s are 64. After subtraction we get 6 over here. This 0 would be brought down, and 8 7s are 56. Now we are left with 4 only. This 0 would be brought down. 8 5s are 40. So remainder is now 0. As many as zeros put after the decimal as are required till we get the remainder as 0. So when we divide 7 by 8, we get the decimal fraction as quotient, which is 0.875 in this case. Now solve exercise 7.6 yourself. We are moving towards the word problems. Example says, a packet has 8.75 kg of rice. How many such packets have 2187.5 kg of rice? And here, to find the number of packets, you would just divide 2187.5 by 8.75. Means this is the case of division of a decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. So you would just do the division as we performed in the section where we learned how to divide a decimal fraction by a decimal fraction. Here you know that divisor is in decimal form, decimal fraction form. So you would just convert it into a whole number. Here the decimal part contains 2 places. So it would be multiplied by 100, and at the same time 100 would be multiplied with the given dividend. Means 100 would be multiplied with the 2187.5 and 100 would be multiplied with the divisor 8.75. Both the numbers would be multiplied by 100 at the same time. When we multiply 8.75 by 100, we get 875 as the divisor, and on multiplying 2187.5 with 100, we get 2,18,750. And now we would divide 2,18,750 by 875, and on division we get quotient as 250. So answer is required number of such packets is 250. This is how you can solve word problems given in the next exercise, and with it your chapter is complete. Meet you in the next video with the next chapter. Bye bye students.